What's poppin'? It's your boy, back with another build that absolutely shreds the legendary campaign. This build, it makes it so you can just play recklessly in the legendary campaign. It is literally child's play. This build is, in my opinion, this build would be GM ready from the get-go. Like this will be able to handle GMs when they finally release. This is an all-season build, which is unfortunate because you can only use it during the season because it does rely heavily on some of the artifact mods for the build to be as good as it is. So abuse it while you can. But let's get into the build right now. So the whole basis of this build, and the first thing I'm going to pop into is the artifact here, is this whole mod right here. This is the whole inspiration for this entire build, and it's the only reason I ever made it to try it in the legendary campaign, and it's busted. And so I've play tested with it a little bit, and I've worked out the kinks of like change some mods here and there to make stuff work. But this right here, firebolt grenades apply more scorch stacks, and damaging a combatant with a firebolt grenade spawns a fire sprite near them. That guarantee of that fire sprite and the more scorch stacks, that's what breaks everything. So what you're going to need is flare up. If you don't have your artifact to this level, you might want to wait before you fully flush out the build, because it does rely heavily on this. Obviously, when you have a max artifact and you can get rain of firebolt, so you get 2 of them, that's going to help a bunch, but this is the main focal point. The other mods that you're going to need so that the build is cheaper and easier to use is Solar Surge, so that when you collect a fire sprite, it gives you an armor charge. You're going to want Authorized Mods Grenades to make grenade mods cheaper, and you want Authorized Mods Solar to make solar mods cheaper. The main exotic that I am using is Phoenix Cradle. However, if you wanted to swap Phoenix Cradle out for something like Lorelei, so you get more healing inside of Sunspots, go for it. That also works great as well. The Phoenix Cradle gives you more utility, but Lorelei gives you more survivability. So if you're dying a bunch, definitely throw on Phoenix Cradle and you'll have more survivability. Let's get to the breakdown of the mods. For the helmet, I'm going to keep things simple. I'm just going to list them through. You're going to want Solar Siphon, Ashes to Assets, and Powerful Friends. Only use Powerful Friends if you're playing with someone else. That way you can swap armor charges back and forth. But if you're not playing with someone else, you're playing by yourself, you can swap this out for another Ashes to Assets. On your gloves, you're going to want 2 grenade kit starts and a firepower. On the chest piece, you're going to want 3 charged up mods so you can have max stacks of armor charge. But if you need some help in the stats department, you can definitely easily get away with only having 2 of these, and you can swap this out for something else if you're struggling in whatever you're doing. For the legs, you want 2 of their solar weapon surges and 1 stacks on stacks. That's so when you pick up an orb of light, you get 2 stacks instead of 1. And then for the Titan mark, you're going to want time dilation so that your stacks decay more slowly. This helps a bunch, helps you retain the stacks longer. And then 2 bombers so you can get your grenade back easier. As far as weapons go, Skyburner's Oath. This is what makes this as broken as it is. It's one of the pieces that fit to the main puzzle. The reason we need to use Skyburner's Oath is because hip firing applies Scorch. Now, it's a small amount, but because your firebolts deal more Scorch stacks, this gets it right over the edge. That tips the over the edge and causes ignitions right away. As far as heavy goes, you're probably going to want to use a solar heavy because it's going to benefit from the solar weapon surge. I was using Cry Mutiny. You can use whatever solar heavy you want here. And as far as your kinetic, you can use whatever kinetic you want. It won't matter too much. I'm just using a blinding GL because it helps in the legendary content. As far as the subclass goes, you're going to want to run Soul Invictus and Roaring Flames. And then for the fragments, you're going to want Ember of Ashes to get more Scorch, Ember of Char to get more ignitions, Ember of Eruption to make the ignitions have larger area, and Ember of Searing because it gets melee energy back when you defeat a Scorched target and creates a fire sprite, so you're kind of double dipping on the fire sprites. And then you can switch this fragment out for something that you think would be suited better to the build. I prefer this one, but you can definitely swap it out for something else. For grenade, obviously you want to use Firebolt. You can choose to use Hammer Strike or the Throwing Hammer. Either one doesn't matter, and you can use your preferred super if you want to use Burning Maul or Hammer of Soul. But I would say use Hammer of Soul because it actually creates sunspots during the super. So that is the basis of the build, and now I'm going to go into a Lost Sector where I'm slightly under light level to try to simulate a legendary campaign mission because I'm not done with them on my Titan yet. But I would definitely want to get this build out because it has been cake. The legendary campaign has been cake with this build, no problem. Okay, so we're in the Lost Sector now, and there is a slight combat loop to using this build, where you just want to throw your Firebolt, tag up some hip fire, cause ignitions, get your Firebolt back. If you watch the bottom left of my screen, you'll see my armor charge counter, and you'll notice that as soon as Grenade Kickstart consumes all of my armor charges, I go and pick up a Fire Sprite and an orb, and I immediately get them all back. it happens so quickly, and your grenade comes back right away. And if you're missing out on a little bit of energy your grenade, just make sure you pop a barricade, and double bomber will help get that grenade back even quicker. So I'm gonna go ahead and push forward here. And this build, it's so enjoyable. I've never had so much fun using a build inside of a legendary campaign than this one. This one is, it is so good. A nice thing is you'll notice I created a sunspot right here, and that's simply because any scorched target that gets defeated creates a sunspot. So simply hitting one hip fire from Skyburner's Oath and defeating that target, sunspot, boom, every time. So you see I already have 3 armor charges. I'm gonna go ahead and sped the grenade. Like 3 armor charges gives you about a third. 4 gives you about a little over a third. And then pick up an orb, immediately 5 charges. I'm up here, barricade to get a little bit more of the grenade back. Firebolt, tag him up, a little bit of hip fire, everything dies. It is cool. It is so much fun using this build. It is so quick and easy. You get health regen, you get damage, you get bonus damage from the solar weapon. I can't even talk properly, man. This build is so good. And you'll notice I am constantly getting my abilities back. Constantly. So I have 5 armor charges right here. I'm gonna rock over here. 2 Vex, throw the grenade, uses all of them, hits both of them, cause the ignition, walk through it, back up to 5 again. Pepper a little hip fire, barricade to get grenade back, throw the grenade, all charges gone, walk forward, grab the orb, grab the fire sprite, boom, immediately back up to max. Drop a shoulder, oh. You can use a shoulder charge to start ignitions as well. You can play recklessly, because there's literally sunspots everywhere, and you're constantly getting health back. And if you stand inside of them, you definitely get your grenade back a lot quicker as well. Dap them up, a little bit of hip fire. Boom, ignitions everywhere. Constant. So having 6 armor charges does not benefit it. The most you can get out of grenade kickstart is half of it back. So there is diminishing returns, but I like having 6 because in the legendary missions you run between areas and they slowly decay, and having 6 and having a little extra times mean you keep a higher number of stacks going into the next fight. And the weapon does pretty good chunk damage because of having the solar weapon boost × 2. So you can just sit there and you don't even have to whip out your heavy ever unless you're just waiting for abilities to come back and you want to do some good boss deeps in there. A little bit of tags, a little bit of hip fire, everything dead. Everything dies, dude. This is my favorite part. A bunch of ads spawn. Boom, boom, and explosions everywhere, man. Alright, that's the... Not a very complicated combat loop. Everything works out very easily. That's the whole basis of the build. Use it, go out, have fun with it. It is such a good time to watch everything constantly exploding on your screen. And that's about it for me. So hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you later. Thanks for watching.